Hi, I'm Niki Jabbour for Johnny's Selected Seeds. And you don't have space for an in-ground vegetable garden or a raised bed? Consider growing crops in pots. Most types of vegetables, as well as herbs, can be grown in containers. From pots and planters to window boxes and fabric bags, there are so many different types of containers you can use to grow food. Today I'm going to offer tips on picking pots, choosing a growing medium, and caring for your container-grown crops. Ready to get started? Let's start by talking about the best crops to grow in containers. Any type of vegetable can be grown in a pot as long as the pot's big enough to accommodate the size of the plant. I find it best to stick with container-friendly varieties. These compact varieties thrive in small spaces while still producing a high yield. Read plant descriptions carefully, choosing varieties like Tidy Treats tomato, Patio Baby eggplant, or Hot Paper Lantern pepper. Next, you want to pick a pot that matches the size of the plant and the variety, one that's not too big and not too small. If it's too small, the plant will dry out quickly on hot summer days, meaning you'll have to pay even more attention to watering. Plus, a small pot can restrict root growth, which can affect overall plant health and potential yield. When deciding on pot size, be sure to read the variety description. Why? Well, some tomatoes can grow 6 feet tall, while others grow just a foot tall. And some cucumbers are vining plants, while others are bush varieties. Pick a container that matches the mature size of the variety. Also make sure your container has drainage holes. This will allow excess water from rain and irrigation to drain away freely. Vegetables grown in containers need a lightweight, free-draining growing medium like a potting mix. I use a potting mix combined with compost or aged manure, and my ratio is about 2/3 potting mix to 1/3 manure or compost. And to this, I also add a slow-release organic vegetable fertilizer. It just ensures my plants have access to a steady supply of nutrients all season long. Also keep in mind that most vegetables grow best in full sun, at least 8 hours of direct sun every day. So place containers on a sunny deck or patio. If growing in a limited space like on a balcony or a small deck where the light moves around during the day, you could place the pots on casters so you can move them around easily to follow the sun. If possible, put containers in a spot away from high winds, as these can knock over the pots and planters, potentially damaging the plants. Once your containers of vegetables have been planted, there are a few tasks you'll need to keep up with to ensure they grow well. The most important of these is watering, and in summer when the weather is hot and dry, most container vegetables need to be watered daily. If crops like tomatoes or peppers are allowed to dry out to the point of wilting, that can result in blossom end rot, a physiological condition where leathery brownish black patches form on the bottom of the fruits. Consistent watering is key to prevention of blossom end rot. When you do irrigate, water the growing medium, not the plant. Wet foliage can promote plant diseases. Also water deeply so that the water runs out the bottom of the pot. If the weather has been wet, you may not need to water for a couple of days. To gauge whether you do need to water, stick your finger into the potting mix. If it's dry a couple of inches down, water. As mentioned earlier, when I first plant my containers in spring, I do add a slow-release vegetable fertilizer to the growing medium. I follow that up in summer every couple of weeks with an application of a liquid organic fish or seaweed fertilizer. I also keep an eye on the overall health of my potted crops. If I spot blemished leaves, I pinch or prune them out. It's common for the bottom leaves on plants like tomatoes to discolor, and these can be pruned out as needed. As your container-grown crops near the days to maturity listed on the seed packet, it'll be time to start harvesting. Quick-growing vegetables like bush beans, zucchini, Swiss chard, and kale need about 50 to 55 days to go from seed to harvest. Slower-growing vegetables like peppers and tomatoes will need a couple of extra weeks before you can begin to harvest. Happy growing!